Muy bien, buenas tardes y bienvenidos a otro día de meetup de Barcelona Bitcoin Only. ¿Quién es la primera vez que viene? Bien, unos cuantos, algunos me han mentido. Muy bien, bienvenidos. Os vamos a contar un poquito qué es este meetup y de qué funciona, de qué va, y luego iremos a la chicha importante e interesante del día. Barcelona Bitcoin Only es un meetup mensual que hacemos en Barcelona, en el cual solo hablamos de Bitcoin, y básicamente es una reunión de forofos sobre Bitcoin. Forofos de muchos tipos y por muchos temas. Hay gente que viene aquí por interés técnico, hay gente que le flipa la parte económica, hay gente que le encanta la parte social, etcétera, etcétera. Dicho eso, no somos un grupo de criptobros que están pintando líneas en gráficos, diciendo si sube, si baja. No sé si hoy es un buen día para comprar. Si habéis venido buscando eso, lo siento, pero no os podremos ayudar.
¿Qué pasa un buen día?
Lo ha dicho él. Si baja es culpa suya. Así que no es ese tipo de grupo. Pero bueno, creo que igualmente podéis aprender cosas interesantes hoy. También es una comunidad, aparte de las charlas que hacemos cada mes, pues de vez en cuando se organizan cosas más simpáticas, un cerveceo, una bolera, actividades por el estilo, así que es cuestión de estar un poco al tanto y si os animáis, pues bueno, es un grupo de gente muy friki pero bastante divertida. Dentro de la comunidad hay muchos proyectos relacionados con Bitcoin de todo tipo que van apareciendo y viviendo, yo creo que cada vez hay más. Tenemos la guía de Minivolt de cómo montar tu nodo, tenemos al artista Escafo con su página web cobraenbitcoin.org que te enseña cómo aceptar Bitcoin, la editorial de Prometea también nos llevamos muy bien, con Bitmaker, probablemente lo conozcáis de su canal de YouTube y de esos mineros chiquitines que tenemos por ahí también es parte de la comunidad, a veces viene a dar charlas. En general hay mucha gente diferente haciendo cosas interesantes que viene aquí en busca de una cosa u otra. Así que si tenéis algún proyecto interesante que tenga algo que ver con Bitcoin y necesitáis gente para mezclarlo, hablarlo, discutirlo, buscar compañeros, es un buen sitio. También ayudamos a negocios que aceptan Bitcoin. Hay unos cuantos negocios aquí en Barcelona que han dado el salto y están aceptando Bitcoin. Si en algún momento conocéis a alguien que está interesado y que no sabe si hacerlo, que no sabe qué wallet utilizar, que tiene dudas al respecto y que necesita un poco de ayuda, lo podéis enviar en nuestra dirección y a nosotros nos gusta mucho ayudar a los negocios a aceptar Bitcoin. Estamos en todas partes muy desordenados, pero típicamente nuestro punto de conversación más caliente es Telegram. Y siempre publicamos los eventos en Meetup, de forma que si habéis venido aquí un poco por carambola pero no sabéis dónde seguirnos, cualquiera de esos dos enlaces serían buenos para estar al tanto y saber las actividades que estamos haciendo. Hoy estamos en Transforma, esto es un coworking que reconvertimos en centro de Meetup algunas tardes. Arriba hay una sala fantástica donde se puede venir a trabajar, donde algunos de los de la comunidad también trabajamos. Si os interesa, pues si buscáis un sitio donde trabajar, es un sitio fantástico y además es muy Bitcoin friendly. Se puede pagar el café con Bitcoin y además también tenemos a Antonio, el artista, detrás de la barra hoy, que también acepta Bitcoin para las cervezas, tanto normal como Lightning. O sea que si luego queréis echar cervezas con Bitcoin, estáis en vuestro sitio. Si tenéis preguntas sobre el coworking, también le podéis preguntar a Antonio. Y anunciamos en primicia, porque en las redes lo haremos dentro de poco, así que sois los primeros humanos en saberlo, que vamos a organizar una fiesta para el halving. Este es un día de esos donde no hablamos de nada intelectual y damos vergüenza. La fiesta será el 20 de abril, que es más o menos cuando esperamos que se produzca el halving, porque como los bloques van como van, pues no se sabe, pero bueno, lo intentaremos. Si coincide, será un pasote. La fiesta será por la noche en el Bar Coyote, que está en Comtorgey, que es uno de esos locales que buenamente acepta Bitcoin, ese es el bar. Así que nada, habrá juegos, habrá jolgorio, habrá gente organizando quizzes, habrá chorradas vendidas por Bitcoin y habrá muchas cervezas, o sea que un día fantástico para animaros. Si os olvidáis de los detalles, lo volveremos a publicar todo para que podáis verlo. Y esa es la introducción hasta aquí. Ahora ya vamos a pasar a la parte buena.
clarifica que pone jueves 20 de abril, pero es sábado. O sea,
Es sábado, no es jueves.
Por si acaso alguien tiene una pregunta.
Está puesto en el protocolo que los halvings solo pueden ser el sábado. Claramente no podía ser un jueves. El sábado. Gracias. Y nada, ahora sí vamos a ir con la charla de hoy. Hoy tenemos un invitado súper especial. Ha venido nuestro querido Rémi de Bitrefill. Rémi es el director de tecnología de Bitrefill, el capo de tutti capi de la tecnología ahí. Y hoy nos va a hablar de cómo es eso de aceptar pagos en Bitcoin. No os preocupéis si no sabéis qué diablos es Bitrefill, porque Rémi ahora os lo va a explicar mejor. Y poco más. Un aplauso para Rémi.
Hello everyone. I'll do the talk in English. I can speak Spanish somewhat, but not good enough to make a full talk on it. So if anyone has questions in Spanish afterward, I can try to answer them, but the talk will be in English. What I'll be talking about today is accepting Bitcoin payments from the point of view. Oh yeah, Mike. Again with the mic. So yeah, I'll be talking about accepting Bitcoin payments and how that works from the point of view of a merchant. So as you heard before, I'm the CTO at Bitrefill, which is a crypto-only merchant that's been around for, like, I think we're celebrating 10 years this year. So for a long time in crypto history. And so that's a bit of like our experience with accepting Bitcoin and all the things we've had to learn along the way. All the good things, but mostly the bad things, because the good things is just Bitcoin works most of the time. But when it doesn't, it's sometimes a bit okay. So let's go first through what is Bitrefill and why we accept crypto payments. So our goal at Bitrefill is to make living on crypto possible. And right now, if you want to live on crypto, you go to, I don't know, you go to Decathlon to get some new shoes. Well, very well, but if you go with your Bitcoin wallet and you show them, who the fuck are you? So you need something to get through that, and that's what we do at Bitrefill. We sell mostly gift cards for a lot of brands, like all over the planet, and then you can just buy that gift card with crypto. So support a bunch of different brands, like big names, smaller ones, also phone top-ups, if you need to recharge your phone. And that works, yeah, pretty much everywhere we have access to, which is most of the planet, bearing, I guess, South Korea is a bit iffy, but the rest is pretty much okay. So that's what we do at Bitrefill. We sell a lot of different products. Just go check out our website, bitrefill.com. You'll see if there is products that can be of use to you. Also, a quick note, we're always hiring, always looking for people. So if you're looking for a job and not only technical, we're looking in a lot of different things. Just come see me after the talk. We can probably get you hooked up on something. And then just, yeah, that's a few of the brands we have in Spain, I think. It's mostly recent. All right, but done with the corporate stuff, let's go on with the talk. Bitcoin transactions, how do they work? What do they do? What are the networks? So, how do we do Bitcoin transaction? And that's a very simple explanation. It's more complicated than that, but I'll try to keep it not too technical. First, because I'm not the best at pure technical Bitcoin, but also just so it's fairly understandable for everyone. And also, disclaimer, this is the point of view from a merchant website. Like if you're just sending Bitcoins to your friends or all that, a lot of this just is irrelevant to you. But that's for a website that sells stuff through Bitcoin. That's what we do. So Bitcoin transactions, what do you need for doing a Bitcoin transaction? Well, you need an address that you're going to send to, that someone provided to you, and an input, which is money in Bitcoin that you control through the private key. And so with that, you just sign that transaction you made from that address to the other one. You sign it so with your private key that proves you have access to that input. And you send it to the network, and then the network does its job. That transaction gets in the mempool. Eventually, a miner picks it up, puts it in a block. Congratulations, you made a Bitcoin transaction. Excellent. Pretty simple so far, right? So, just a bit more schematically how it looks. That's all input thing. This is the money I have. I want to send some money to that address. Just, send a bit of it. And then the way Bitcoin works, every time you send money, there is kind of a reminder transaction. If you're not sending the full address, there is always the money goes back to it. So we're getting that money, like part of it, 0.005 Bitcoin to that address, and then the rest goes back to my address. For a lot of good reason, you should probably not send back to your same address for privacy reason, generate a new one and all that. But to keep it simple, we send back to our address, so we still have the reminder there and this here. There is some fees involved and all that, but we'll talk about that later. So that's how we do basic Bitcoin transactions, really, in a very simple way. All right, how do we accept transactions if you're on the other end, you're receiving that? So first you need to generate an address. So that's usually derived from your private key. It's just a way to create addresses that you control. And you send it to whoever is trying to send you money. Your wallet does that for you. Ooh. Good catch. So yeah, your wallet usually does that for you. If you're trying to build a business out of that, then you need to handle that yourself. And then someone is going to tell you, well, I sent you money. You're like, well, sure, but that's Bitcoin, we trust, but we verify. So you have to monitor that address. We have to wait for it to actually show up on the blockchain as like, okay, we now have a payment on that address, and then deliver the product or the service or whatever your end user is looking for and paying you for. So yeah, that's also pretty simple. Just a very basic schema of how those could look like integrated. You have your backend, that's your servers, that's your system, that's whatever you're trying to do. And basically you just have your Bitcoin node. Your backend will be like, hey, can I get the payment address? I have a customer trying to buy something. Just Bitcoin node derivates your private key, generates a new address, excellent. Then you need to monitor the blockchain. That's just checking every new block. Okay, do I have a payment? That's one of the addresses I actually generated at that step. And then once that payment shows up on the blockchain, well, we just notify back to the backend, like customer paid, deliver whatever you have to deliver. So far, nothing completely crazy. In reality, you would want a lot more, like a couple of extra nodes for redundancy. If you have to do updates, whatnot, you might even want to have third-party monitoring services that would do that for you. So that if for whatever reason your whole infrastructure goes down, you still have some stuff running in the background that can accept payment for you. But that's a bit more like up to whoever builds that system. But that's the minimum you need to accept Bitcoin payments, basically. Unless you want to rely fully on a third party that does it for you. But if you want to do it, exactly. You can. I wouldn't recommend it, but at least if you just want to start, maybe it's fine. But the moment you have something serious, you're gonna want to have the thing in house. So yeah, that's it. That's Bitcoin payments. That's accepting Bitcoin payments. Very easy, right? Well, let me introduce you to that guy, the user. The user is a menace. Like, that guy is a fucking menace to society. Because he will find all the things you didn't think about and think about it and mess with your system. So let's see a bit what that user can do. Well, that user just sees like a nice payment form. You know, you have a QR code so you can scan and pay. There's a Bitcoin address here, amount to pay. They can easily copy it, so it's like easy to just put in their wallet and send money, right? Fairly simple. We're trying to make it very simple for the user, so you know nothing can go wrong, right? All right. The user is like, what if I send less? I mean, nothing's preventing him from doing that, right? Just like, yeah, take the address, send like 500 Satoshi instead. What happens? Well, now we have 500 Satoshi on our wallet. That's on an invoice, but I need to stop throwing that thing. But that's not really useful because we obviously want more money, but at the same time, you know, nothing's preventing the user from doing that. So suddenly you have a new problem. What do you do with that money? It's the user money, like, you know, you can steal it, but that's not how you run a business. Usually, yeah, that's not great for trust. So you need to somehow find a way to either ask the user, hey, can you send what you're missing, you know? So figure out, okay, you're missing like that much Satoshi, can you send that? And so we can give you a product. Or you need to refund him. Maybe he made a mistake. Maybe you didn't have enough on his wallet and didn't realize and sent some money and it didn't work. So suddenly you need to have a refund system. So suddenly you need to send money back to a user in a somewhat automated way because you probably have more than one user. So you need to, you know, you can't have everyone just validating everything manually. So now you have automated money sending through Bitcoin, which is unreversible and all that. That's very scary to have in a system. Like, oh, well. So yeah, things get a bit more complex. What else can the user do? Oh, what if I send more? I mean, still nothing preventing him from doing that. So what if the user, instead of sending what you asked for, sends like half a Bitcoin? Well, I guess we should deliver the product, but what we do with the rest of the money, once again, we're not going to steal it. Like, that would be bad for trust, not though you run a business. So now we, once again, have to find a way to send him back that money. So we're going to be like, hey, mate, can you give us an address so we can send you all the extra money you sent us? And also, why did you send that extra money? But, you know, nothing in the network, nothing anywhere tells you can't do that. So you need to handle that. That's the thing you need to handle if you accept Bitcoin payments. What if they send more? So, yeah, that happens. That also happens. Sometimes they send all their wallets because for some reason they have a big button, send all, and there's some wallets have that, and they send all their wallets. That happened. Sometimes we're like, why did we get 4 Bitcoin? Like that guy was trying to recharge his mobile phone and suddenly he sent 4 Bitcoin. What the fuck? That happens, like on a monthly basis. So suddenly you're like, okay, we're just getting like 4 Bitcoin on our wallet. What will we do with that? Like, you know, and you get some, very quickly, usually you get on customer support, a user coming like, please, I fucked up. All right. So once again, you still need to send refund, but like suddenly that wallet you use for refund, because you know if you're processing automatic refunds, you don't want that wallet to be the main one for security reasons. So now you need to find a way to get 4 Bitcoin on that hot wallet that's exposed to the, you know, the worst of the internet, and send money back to that user, at least most of his 4 Bitcoin. Well, that's a thing you need to deal with too. That's annoying, but that's, you know, part of accepting Bitcoin. You need to deal with that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's one of the things you need to think about when you're accepting Bitcoin payment is you do not control how much the user is sending you. It's not a problem with Lightning in general, because the Lightning invoices do have a specific amount tied to them. So people would need to, on purpose, do a lot of things. Like they can't really do it by mistake. Like it would be more of a attack kind of situation than on purpose. But with raw Bitcoin, that's very possible. That's something you will have to think about if you're accepting Bitcoin. All right. Yeah. What if I use your payment system as a mixer? That's the thing I can do too. Just send you some extra money. I know you're going to refund it to me because you don't want to steal my money. So now I have a free mixer. It's just like use Bitrefill as a mixer. Excellent. That's great. Thank you, user. Yeah, that's the thing too. So you have to a bit monitor and make sure like that one person is not doing 200 over the amount payment in the same day, because that's probably some shady stuff happening. But that's the thing. That's the thing they can do. So yeah. If you have a little user base, probably none of this will happen at first, but eventually, if you scale up, that's the kind of thing people will start doing with your system, because you know it's the internet. People always find crazy idea to break your stuff. So what else is our user up for? Well, it looks at the mempool. It's like the highest it's ever been. Fees are absolutely insane, and like quick thing on fees. So I didn't put it on the slide on transactions, but every time you try to do a transaction on the Bitcoin network, you need to send some extra money as fees for the network to use. That's what part of the reward for the miners, that's part of how the system works. And so that's the state of the mempool in terms of, I'm not sure it's super readable, but that's the different level of fee per byte that you need to send to get your transaction in. And so we have like different layers or different amounts you send. So if you're in there, miners basically are somewhat smart people. So they will take the top of it because it's more money for them. So they will always pick the top of it. So if you're in there, it's going to take a while to get your transaction on the blockchain. You might have to wait for the weekend or forever, depending on how low your fees are. But what if the user does that? Well, now you have an angry user in customer support that sent you money and is like, you know, his wallet says he has less money, so he sent you money, right? And he's like, why is my purchase not done? Like, well, because you set your fees to like 1 sats. So, you know, it's going to take a while to confirm. And what do you deal with that? Well, there is a bunch of different ways to deal with that. So talk a bit about the different one. So one thing that we used to do is zero conf. So that means we don't even wait for the transaction to be on the blockchain. You know, it's in the mempool. You can't, you know, very easily replace it. At least you couldn't at the time. So we're just like, you know, most likely the user is not gonna try to mess with us and send us the money. And that's possible. You need to put a few limits to it. Maybe don't accept, you know, 4 Bitcoins without confirmation. But if it's someone trying to send you, you know, 10 euro worth of Bitcoin, maybe you can take that risk. It's, you know, depends how risk tolerant you are in general. But that's something we used to do. We never had any issues with it. It's been running pretty fine for quite a time. And yeah, you need to check a few things. Check also that the fees are not so ridiculously low that the transaction might never confirm. There's a lot of things to take into account when you're doing this kind of thing. But the reality is, if someone has the capability to like do a reorg, which is just, you know, change what chain is the current active chain, are they really gonna try to steal something from you for like a couple $100? They probably have bigger targets and bigger things to do than just hack your system. So that's very dependent on what you're running. If you're doing small transactions, probably zero conf, at least at the time, was still very okay. If you're doing like large amount, if you're an exchange and you're moving like hundreds, thousands of euros, you probably don't want to zero conf thing. But that's the thing we used to do. And then eventually that thing got invented, or at least got popularized, replaced by fee. So what's replaced by fee, or RBF, it's a way to tell the Bitcoin network when you have a transaction that's still in a mempool, so not confirmed, that you want to emit a new one to replace this one. And the idea being, I put low fee, so my transaction is going to take forever, or, you know, never confirms even. So I just put a new one with higher fees so that miners like it better, and eventually it gets through. And that used to be optional. That used to be like, you can just set your transaction to be RBF enabled. If it is, then you can always have that option to just change the thing until the transaction gets confirmed. Recently, I mean, not that recently, it's been a few years now, I guess. This has become kind of default. Most wallets turned it on by default. It's pretty much everywhere now. So that makes the whole zero conf thing a bit harder, because suddenly the user can, at any point, change the transaction, completely change. Like, you can't even send it to someone else. Like, you basically have no control over it until they get to the blockchain. So that used to be a solution, not anymore, because RBF is a thing. But RBF at least lets the user, if they make a mistake and like realize it afterward, and the wallet supports it, which is not all wallets, but some do, you can actually be like, oh shit, I put like 1 Satoshi fee, that's dumb. Put it to like a more reasonable amount and unstuck your transaction. That's great. There's also that option, child pays for parent. It's also a way to kind of push a transaction forward in the queue of the mempool. Basically, the idea is you have your transaction, it has very low fee, it's going to take forever to confirm. So what you do is you create a new transaction based on that previous one, because they're sending it to you, so you control the address. So you make a new transaction that uses the money that user sent to you, that the output is sent to you. And you just put higher fees. And then because of how the blockchain works, the miners can't take the second one without confirming the first one. So they will have to pay both if they want to make the money on the fees of the second one. So that's usually a good enough incentive, because, once again, miners want to make money. So they will take both transactions at once because they want to get the fees of the second one, even though the first one is not that interesting. So that's a way to also like speed things up. The problem as a merchant is that means you need to pay extra money to get your user money in. So might make sense. Once again, depends on a lot of economic reasons of like, okay, do we offer a very premium service for high amounts, and then maybe it's worth it to pay a bit more so that your users always get fast payments. If they're doing microtransactions, probably you don't want to support that because it's going to cost you a lot of money for just fixing your user mistakes or wallets. So yeah, that's all the fun things that can happen with fees on top of everything. All right, our user is back, and he made a payment with you. So it's like, I'll redo the same thing, right? It's gonna work again. Well, it could, like, and some exchanges will do that, some website will do that, where they just give you like a permanent payment address that you can reuse forever. It's not ideal for a lot of reasons, but it's possible. At least at Bitrefill, we generate a new payment address for every transaction so that it's not like, oh, I want to know how much that person spent and just check that address that I know is the one they sent to. It's a privacy thing. It's good for anonymity. So in general, you prefer to have one address per payment rather than a static one for your user. And users that are at least privacy conscious will prefer that too. So then suddenly that address that's like 3 months old, like you already settled it, you got the money out, you put it back on your main wallet, all that, now it's getting money again. Oh, well, so now you need to monitor back all the addresses you ever generated. It's like years and years of backlog of addresses because maybe someone will send you money on those. That's a thing. That's annoying. You can put a cutoff date and wait for them to complain to support, but at least you're going to need to handle that for a couple months just to make sure your users, if they do stupid thing or just like, I don't know, maybe some wallets have like a redo transaction or whatnot. Like that's usually half of these problems are the wallet also, but at the end of the day, the user pressed the button. So yeah, that's something you need to handle. And also, you probably need to handle that. The guy just installed a browser plugin that offers free money on crypto transaction. It's like cashback on Bitcoin transaction or whatnot. That's obviously a scam. That's obviously some spyware that's gonna like live replace the address whenever he goes on your website. So that's the thing too. Then you get users complaining on support like, hey, I sent you money, you didn't give me my product. And you're like, we don't see your transaction on the address. And they're like, yeah, here's my transaction ID. Oh, you sent to the wrong address. It's like, that's the one I saw on your website. Yeah, well, you install some shitty plugin or you get like the most virus-ridden computer on the planet. That's the thing that happens, more often than not. We've even had cases of people that were on like some dark web forums reading a PDF that was like, this is how you hack Bitrefill. Just paste my code in your browser and you will get free stuff from Bitrefill. Yep. I mean, that guy made decent money. But then, yeah, you have the user complaining on support. Hey, I sent you money. It's like, oh, you tried to steal stuff from us and you got your money stolen. Haven't we all learned a lesson today? But that happens. That happens a lot. So yeah, the payment address needs to be somewhat protected. And like we have some security measures on the website. If you ever open the web inspector to paste some code, we have a massive stop in red that's like, if anyone is telling you to paste anything here, it's trying to steal your money. And that's the kind of thing you need to think about because that's a very easy attack vector for your users. It's just like, yeah, on the website, replace the address. If you have any access to it, just replace any Bitcoin address you see on the browser with yours. They're going to make a lot of money. So yeah, it's not really the user's fault, but a bit. Wallets, I was talking about them. Wallets can also be part of the problem. You can have issues with address format support. It's less of a problem these days. Most wallets are aligned, but there used to be times where things were complicated and like beg32 addresses, which are the SegWit address, basically a different format than the old one we used to use. It makes for transactions that are a bit cheaper, but that took a while for all wallets to integrate. So suddenly you have kind of a conundrum is, do we support the new one that makes transactions cheaper or faster for our users, or do we send them the old one that's a bit more expensive but more widely supported because it's older? That's the kind of thing you might have to deal with. Right now, things are pretty quiet on that front, but who knows? Maybe in the future we'll have a new address format because Someone got crazy good ID and we need to change the address format. So that's a thing you need to be aware of. And some wallets are really, really old. Some people never update their stuff, so they don't even know what a SegWit address is. So suddenly your payment form needs to have it's not working. Oh yeah, okay, you're old. Take this one. You need to keep, supporting, accepting from older address format and all that. That's a thing. We talked about fee. A lot of the time on your wallet, you don't manually set the fees. The wallet just puts like, either it gives you option, low, medium, high, or fast, slow, whatever. But that relies on the wallet doing its, job of checking the mempool, checking how high the current fee rates are for fast transaction or slow transaction. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes their thing is broken. Sometimes they're just out of date. There is a lot of things that can happen there. And so that brings back all the fee issues we talked about before. And that's not really the user fault, it's the wallet's fault, but that will happen too. This one is very specific. I don't remember which wallet did that, but that was really, really stupid. Basically, if you were sending 1,000 Satoshi, they will deduct from that amount the fees. So as a merchant, we're always receiving less than what the user was supposed to pay because the wallet was just like, oh yeah, you want to send 1,000, that includes the fee, right? Because, I don't know, so someone was high this day. But yeah, that's a thing also that we had to deal with. I think we haven't had that issue in a long time, so probably most wallets have now agreed on a decent UX for that and stopped doing it, but that's a thing that used to happen quite a lot, and it was a big one. I don't know which one it was. But, No, it was before Moon. It was like, that was 5-6 years ago. That was a long time ago. But yeah, that was a mess. All right, what are other things that can happen? Well, a lot of things. Confusion with other chains. Yeah, someone just sent you Bitcoin Cash. Why didn't you send them the product? No one wants your Bitcoin Cash, mate, but they still send it to you, so now you have their weird fake Bitcoin money on your system. What do you do with that? But now you need to kind of find a way to send them back their Bitcoin Cash, or, once again, is a bit of a gray area, but you're gonna get angry customers. Same, that's not an issue right now. Like, Bitcoin is pretty much only Bitcoin, and but we also support other coins than Bitcoin, and that's a problem. Like, that is a big problem. Like, if anyone using stable coins, they're like, yeah, they're sending you USDC when you're expecting USDT. That's a thing. Or they're sending you wrong chain. That's a thing too. Like, this, if you're accepting more than Bitcoin, that will be a problem very quickly because people don't know what they're doing, and most of the addresses in the Web3 and Ethereum ecosystem are kind of compatible. So their wallet will be like, sure, send your token to that address that's expecting Ethereum. And now your user is angry because they sent the wrong token and they didn't get their product. And now combine that with they sent all their wallets of the wrong token. Yeah, funny support tickets. It happens. Sweeping costs. So sweeping, what it is for us as merchants, we generate a lot of addresses for every payment. So let's say we have 100 people paying something, we're going to generate 100 addresses. At the end of the day, we need that Bitcoin consolidated under a single address so we can send it to an exchange to pay our suppliers, or just, we pay some salaries in Bitcoin, but we're not going to do all right, that person, we need to send them that much, so we're going to send the money from those 5 customers to pay the salary from someone. You need your money consolidated somewhere for just operating a business. And so that's what we call sweeping. So that's just get all the money from all these addresses you have back to a single address so that it's in the same place, you know exactly how much money you have and all that. And that's great, but that also is a Bitcoin transaction, so that involves fees, and that can be a big one. Like, we do thousands and thousands of Bitcoin payment a day, so at the end of the day, if we want to get all that money on an address, we're gonna make a big transaction. And the bigger the transaction, the more fees if you want that money to get on that address in any decent amount of time. So depending on how much people are sending you, that might be an economical problem. Because if they're sending you a few cents per transaction, probably just the fees to get that money back to a main wallet are going to be just problematic, and you're going to lose money just getting that money back to you. So for very low transactions, Lightning, really. Don't pay coffees on Bitcoin. That's a bad idea. Can do it if you want, but that's a bad idea. And like at scale, it just breaks down very quickly, especially right now with fees being high. Like that's a problem. Another funny problem is Dust. So Dust is basically a Bitcoin input with so little money that the network is like, nah, I'm not moving that amount of money. It's just not worth it. I think current Dust amount is close to 500 Satoshi. I'm not completely sure, but that should be around that, which is 6 cents of dollars. So that's getting into real life money territory in the Western world. Like, and if you're working with people outside of the Western world like we do phone top-ups in like Indonesia. That's the amounts they send. Like recharging your phone in Indonesia costs 10 cents of dollars. So how do these people send you money? Because now they can't, like their wallet probably won't let them send that amount. And even if they do, because it's close enough, well, you're back to the sweeping issue. Now you have very little amount on a lot of addresses that you need to sweep together. So for those things, Lightning again. Like any small amount, use Lightning. Don't use Bitcoin for a small amount at scale. It's fun to play around, but for any reasonable scale, you're not going to be good with that. All right. Other things, because it's not over. There is more things. Yeah. So long-lasting payment address. So what that means is, you generate an address for payment, and you just accept payment as long as the user pays you at some point. Sometimes it's not time sensitive. They send you a transaction, and it confirms 3 days later. The problem with that is, imagine someone sends a bit less. You ask for 1,000 sats and they send 900. And then they wait to see how the price moves, and like, oh, the price goes up a lot. Actually, they would like that 900 sats back because now it's worth a lot more money. So they're going to ask for a refund. Wow. Now they're hedging against like Bitcoin price move, and if the price tanks, they're like, oh yeah, I'll just send the extra 100 sats and get my product. So that's a problem too. And that's why, in general, if you're accepting Bitcoin payment, you don't want that address to be super long-lived. You want to, at some point, say, we don't take your money anymore, or just like automatically, just like, that's a refund. We're not sending you a product for that because it's too old. Otherwise, that's very easy to do. And that's easy to automate too, and then like suddenly just, you're losing money very quickly because people are just abusing your system to just hedge against price fluctuation. That's always fun. And mixing, we already talked about it, but yeah, pretty much any company that automatically accesses Bitcoin is very easy to use as a mixer if they're also able to just send you back the money in some shape or form. Yeah, just send the money you got from your shady deal, and then ask for a refund, or do it a couple of times, and you have clean coins now. This is more of a like moral thing than actual. The network lets you do that, and some people are fine with it, some are not. If you're a business trying to build trust with partners, especially outside of the crypto ecosystem, that's usually a no-go. Like, they really don't like that. So yeah, that's a long list of things, and there is more, but I won't bore you with all of them. But that's a long list of the things that make accepting Bitcoin payment not as simple as it seems at first. At scale, you're going to have to deal with those things. But then why would you do that? Why bother with all those things? Well, first, you don't need to talk with these people. That's great. We're talking with them currently. It's a hell. Really, you don't want to talk to them. You don't need to talk to banks even. Like, technically, you can build a website, accept Bitcoin payments, and never rely on a bank. That's crazy. Like, that is actually insane. Like,
BTC Pay?
Yeah, BTC Pay is an option also. And neither do your customers, which is really good because people without bank is a thing. Like in the Western world, that's not a big problem for us. Most people are. And even in Europe, I think we have like 10 to 15% of people that don't have a bank. But in some countries, we're like at 90%. And like the only people with access to banking systems are the super rich of the country. So suddenly, you're giving access to a lot more people to your services. And we see that a lot with all our phone top-ups products, is people living in very rural areas where recharging their phone is a half-day trip to the nearest town that has actually a kiosk that will sell them phone credit. Well, You have a bit of Bitcoin on your mobile, as long as you have data, just recharge it. And these people maybe will never need a bank through that. And then, yeah, as I was saying, it's all over the place. You just, if you have access to the internet, you can use Bitcoin. That's great. No chargeback. That's also a big thing. If you're running a business that accepts debit and credit card payments, at any point, that person can be like, oh, I didn't do that payment. And now the bank will get that money back. So now you probably delivered something to a user, a service, a product, whatever, and you didn't get paid. And that's how the system works for most cases. Or you're paying an insurance so that you don't have to deal with that, but you're still paying for that option of doing a chargeback. Sometimes it's convenient and it's, good for the user in terms of like fraud prevention and all that. But as a business, that's a cost to you. So that makes some products that no one is able to sell on credit card because of credit card fraud a possibility. And also not all of these issues apply universally. That's mostly from the point of view of Bitrefill. We sell things from the range of like very little amount, like 10-ish cents, to I think maybe you can spend up to like $5,000 at once, but that's the range we're working with. If you're working with much higher amounts, people are also probably a bit more chill with waiting for confirmation, and you're gonna have different issues. If you're not automating a lot of things, you also have less issues. It really depends on your business. You won't have to face all of that if you're accepting Bitcoin, most likely. Some of them you won't have to deal with. You will have new problems, probably also, but that's a thing. And then Lightning. Lightning is great. Use Lightning. We see it on our stats. Surprisingly, little people actually use Lightning for payments, and we still have people that sends less than $1 amount on chain on Bitcoin, and we're like, please use Lightning. It's better for you. Really, it is. And that's more of a general thing. Lightning works. Lightning does a lot of things. And as a merchant, it's important to accept Lightning, and it just simplifies a lot of things. A lot of what I talked about just doesn't happen on Lightning. So yeah, for simple merchant transaction, Lightning is really good. It does some other issues, don't get me started on accounting with Lightning. It's absolute hell. No one wants to do that. But outside of that, you have a lot of good things with Lightning. So yeah. That's why you should be accepting Bitcoin with your services.
Thanks a lot, Rémi. We have plenty of time today, so we can shoot some questions to Rémi.
Yep,
we can
exactly.
spend 15, 20 minutes, or whenever you get tired, or whenever we run out of questions, whatever happens first. So.
Excellent.
Questions?
Do you have your own Lightning node for Bitrefill, or?
Yes.
Which
We have.
client?
I would need to ask the Lightning guys. I don't remember. That's the thing of being CTO now. I don't deal with a lot of the crypto stuff anymore. I used to, but now as not part of my job. Yeah, I'll fight.
You were talking about, can you go back on your slides?
Sure.
Your report, because I wanted to ask you about a story a bit more. I know, the next one. Yeah, when confusion with the chain, has that ever happened to you? And what did you guys do?
A lot.
Because then, do you guys go then to Bitcoin Cash and give it
I
back,
mean,
or just say,
I guess,
fuck you, it's
yeah,
fake?
I guess story time on Bitcoin Cash. So for people who weren't around at that time, basically there was a Bitcoin fork at some point. Some people wanted a solution called Segwit. Some people were against it because that was less money for miners, and they wanted to keep getting more money. And so there was a big debate. Lots of internet ink was spilled and all that, and eventually mostly the Segwit clan won, and the other ones that were very angry with it decided, well, it's Bitcoin, it's open source, I'll make my own Bitcoin, and that's how Bitcoin Cash got created. And so basically, at that point, if you had some Bitcoin on an address, you suddenly had two different chains, one that was regular Bitcoin, one that was Bitcoin Cash. And on both chains, you had the same amount. So if you had 1,000 sats on the first one, suddenly you had 1,000 sats of Bitcoin and 1,000 sats of Bitcoin Cash. So a lot of people were like, oh, I just doubled my money. Which, if you were quick at selling your Bitcoin Cash on an exchange, was more or less true. But then we were holding some of our users' funds because we also have like a account feature where people can create account and deposit some money, mostly to, if you're doing regular transactions, you don't have to pay transaction fees every time. It's a bit faster. It's a convenience thing. We don't hold a lot of money. Like it's not a custodial wallet. It's just a convenience thing. So we had a lot of users' money on that. So what we did is the instant we got the Bitcoin Cash, like the chain was up and all that, we just sold it on an exchange and gave the money back as Bitcoin to people because fuck Bitcoin Cash. But during a few months, we had to deal with people sending us Bitcoin Cash, and they didn't even knew they had Bitcoin Cash. Like they were like, "I sent you my Bitcoin. Why don't I have my product?" And we're like, "Oh, that's Bitcoin Cash. It's a different chain. It doesn't work like this." We're like, "What? But I thought I bought Bitcoin." Oh, no, you didn't. You bought the other Bitcoin. And then there was a few at that time, like Bitcoin Cash. I think there was like Bitcoin Satoshi something. Like there was a few. Yeah, there was a few different scams that happened at that era. So yeah, that's a thing that used to happen. These days on Bitcoin, really, we don't see that anymore. But we do keep seeing it on other chains, especially like the whole stablecoin ecosystem is a mess with that. And basically everything Web3 is a bit chaotic on that front. Let's go.
Te haré la pregunta en castellano.
Sí, dímelo en español.
¿Bitrefill funciona como una plataforma o como una wallet? Y si no funciona como una wallet, ¿no sería mejor que fuese una wallet?
Nosotros no estamos en una wallet. Tenemos una opción de ganar un poquito de Bitcoin para ti, para pagar más rápidamente y todo. Pero
puedes hablar en inglés, lo entiendo.
Ok, bueno. Entonces voy a hacerlo en inglés. But yeah, so we can hold a bit of users' fund, but it's very limited. Like the amount, I think we cap it at $2,000, so it's like low amount. It's just a convenience thing. The wallet question has been asked a lot of time internally, externally, and like we're considering it. The problem is that changes a lot of like regulations we're tied to, which right now we're not willing to fight with that. But that's the thing that's in the back of our mind constantly, and it might happen at some point. It's just we're regularly like, maybe we should be a wallet, maybe we shouldn't. But yeah, that's a fair question, and we're constantly asking ourselves that question too.
Another one. ¿En qué lugar del mundo tienes más negocio? Te lo pregunto porque yo soy latinoamericano y tengo familia desde Argentina hasta Estados Unidos. Y Bitrefill lo conocí hace 2 o 3 años y le dije a cada uno en el sitio donde estaba, métete en esta dirección y dime qué ves ahí. Y funcionaba en Latinoamérica, funcionaba en todos los países.
Yeah, we have a pretty good coverage. It mostly depends on the kind of supply we can find because we do not connect directly to like Amazon. We don't have, Amazon doesn't really know we exist. I mean, they know they don't like us, but we don't talk to them directly. But we talk to suppliers that have connections with Amazon directly. And so those suppliers, when we find them, they give us access to a lot of products in a country or in a geographical area. So that depends on how developed these companies are in different parts of the world. Like I know Argentina, we have a decent coverage.
Guatemala.
Guatemala is going to be... Guatemala, we have a few things, but there is also countries in Latin America where we have like just the mobile stuff, like we're going to have like Claro and this kind of thing, and that's it. So it really depends on the countries. We're always trying to get more, but sometimes it just doesn't exist. So yeah, it's mostly dependent on the brands having gift cards, because if they don't, the whole thing doesn't work, and the suppliers having the supplies for these countries.
Sorry, maybe that's a shitty question, but I would like to understand how does it work like properly. I know I'm from Argentina. I used to use Bitrefill like 2017, 2018. Nice. But I remember right now there are a lot of regulations going on around the world, and I know that you had to log in and create an account in order to proceed in some places. And I know that Bitrefill is in some exchange as well. My question is regarding the regulation as well and the address. If I had to proceed with a KYC in the future, or maybe if I want to buy a gift card or something in Europe, the MiCA regulation right now is killing everyone and all the kind of merchants. So I would like to know the point of view from the future, like Bitrefill and the KYC system and all.
Yep. So the way our, because MiCA has a big European regulation in general on cryptocurrencies and a lot of affiliated things. And so far, what we do, which is selling gift cards, mobile top-up, and things like that, is not impacted by MiCA. So that doesn't change the way we operate. We can still offer the service up to reasonable amounts without sign-up, KYC, all that. So for now, we can get off scot-free and keep selling all that we do. We are building some other services that right now, because of regulation, will require KYC or at least slight KYC at different level. But the main business of gift card and all that is, for now, we're good. At least in the current iteration of MiCA and all the European laws, we're pretty good. Not a lawyer, don't quote me on that, but that's our current understanding. All right.
Two questions, in fact, one technical
Sure.
and one legal. Technical, I wanted to know what was your fee strategy with your Lightning peers?
You have to ask the Lightning guys.
Okay.
The Lightning part, really, I don't touch these days.
Okay.
I only hear about it when it's broken, which is not often, so so that's good.
And second, it was legal because you're there for already 10 years. I'm wondering, if I buy something on Decathlon, as you were saying, I just buy the gift card, I go to Decathlon, it's very anonymous, especially if you pay by Lightning. If I buy Airbnb, it's slightly less anonymous because, I need to give my ID to Airbnb. So in your experience, does any tax office already contacted the end service to say, hey, please tell me who bought your service through Bitcoin company, Bitrefill, and Cryptorefill?
So we don't get, on the tax level, not really. We do get once in a while, police department sending us hey, we are on a case and, one of the address we're monitoring sent you money, so can you send us the detail? But on the tax level, we've never seen anything so far. They don't really seem to care. But we do have police stuff, which...
On your website, it's easy because you can just go to, through Tor and use a Proton mail address.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering about the end service, If they could go to Amazon and say, okay, please tell me who used vouchers from a gift card from
I mean, and any business registered in a country will have to follow those kind of police and government regulations where if they're asking your company where is the money coming from, then you have to tell them.
So my question is, did it happen already in the 10 years?
Well, we do have once in a while police requests. Most of the time they're very blanket things where they're here is 1,000 Bitcoin address. Is any of these yours? We're right. Run a few scripts. But yeah, no, not directly for tax reasons. We do have, and it's the thing also, if the police ask you what happened on those addresses, they don't tell you why. They're gonna be oh yeah, it's that guy, he did some crime or whatnot. They're just hey, can you give us everything you have on that transaction? Yeah. So it's very, on our end, we don't really know the business behind.
You guys have a credit card or Visa card, right? Or something
Yes.
like that?
So that's a new thing, yeah.
Yeah, but you can only spend up to 50 euros, right? I saw it, you can buy 10, 20, 30, 40, but it caps at 50. How come? What's the deal?
So I think that was early days of it, because it's so we do have a debit card product where you can top up with crypto. It gets on a card and then you have for now virtual, but in time physical card that you can use. The idea is bridging the gap with the services we can't offer. So if you go to your local tiny 24-hour open supermarket to buy a bag of crisp before going home, they're not on Bitrefill, but that card will let you go through that. But yeah, I think that was early days of it because it's still kind of a closed beta.
But you pay a lot because it's based in US.
Yeah.
So I went to Cabravo and I bought, I don't remember, it's 2 euros and I paid 2 euros fee plus the exchange rate.
Yeah.
So
we're fighting with.
I bought, just a card for $10 and I put it on the Google Wallet. And so you just pay with Bitcoin with your phone at the supermarket. But
the fees right now are not great. We're very aware of it. Exactly. But yeah, the reality of this product is we're trying to get kind of a foot in the door in that market so that we can then like fight for bigger fees and all that. But right now it's a test. Yeah. Wait.
Maybe you can answer this. You're not using ZeroConf now.
No.
What were your strategies when ZeroConf was in to stop RBF attacks?
Well, before RBF was like kind of everywhere. It was a flag, so you would just be like, oh, that transaction has RBF, don't do ZeroConf. So that was fairly simple. And then we had a couple of like more heuristical things that's like, check the mempool to see if the transaction fees are decent enough that we can reasonably get that within, I think, was a day the limit. Is the transaction, like, if it was a lot of money, we would not do ZeroConf either. So it's like, it was really like, what's your risk tolerance? And like, we were asking people, like literally, because we had people that were like hating on us because we were doing ZeroConf, and that's not the Bitcoin way. You need to wait like 6 confirmation. Sure, whatever. And we were like, okay, just hack us, like really, come at us. And like, we never had any issue. Like, and the moment RBF became very common, and like most when I started exporting it, we did a few trials and we're like, yeah, it's very easy now, so we just killed the whole system.
So all that would happen in your back end. No, it's not about the blocks or anything.
No, exactly. Like we would get like, okay, there is a new transaction that's coming up on an address you're monitoring. Just check it out, make sure it fits all our checklist, and if it does, then we would do ZeroConf on it, and that's how it used to work.
And why did you say it's more complicated now to replace a transaction than it was before?
No, it is easier now because pretty much most transactions now have RBF on, whereas before it used to be like.
But it's still as easy as before.
Yeah, exactly. It's just before it was easy to just filter them out. Now it's like you'll filter out pretty much everything, so just not worse to keep the system running for the few people that don't. Yeah.
Given that Lightning basically solves all the issues that you've covered, as you said, is there anything you are doing to incentivize users to use it instead of people you can do?
So we tried a bit. We used to have lower prices, I think, for Lightning for a bit. We tried, I think it was like 1-2% off if you were buying with Lightning. The reality of it is we didn't see like a massive uptick on it. Like the only time we saw big upticks on Lightning usage were when other companies like Strike was doing big promo and things like that. So it was like basically accumulating discounts on things. So people were using that a lot, and suddenly our Lightning usage was like shooting up 50% overnight. But that's pretty much the only thing. And like Lightning is growing in our stats, but it's growing very slowly. Like we're talking like less than 1% per year. So it's very, very slow. It's growing, but it's growing much slower than it should because like literally this is the perfect use case for Lightning, and we're still seeing a lot more Bitcoin than Lightning.
And what is the average card value for any country, any currency?
That's a good question. I don't remember exactly. I'd say it's between 50 and 100 euro, but I don't remember the exact number. But that's mostly because it's dominated by like some countries that do like large card values, but obviously if you look at like Indonesia, Pakistan, these kind of countries, it is like a lot of volume but tiny amounts. So it really depends. But even in those countries, we still see Bitcoin being used, and we're like, please stop. Like you're spending your money for no good reason.
Question here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have in your roadmap any plans to add payments for bills like water, internet, gas? Because that would be a main game changer.
Yeah, very good question. We actually used to have bill payments in the US, and that was working great, and everyone was very happy with it, and then FTX happened, and banks were like, we're not touching crypto anymore. So we're still trying to bring that back, looking for partners that will allow us to get that back, because that was really good. Like we had people doing crazy things with it. Like we had a Bitcoin miner that was literally paying his electricity bill with Bitcoin that he was mining. It's just like, that's the circular economy. That's what we're looking for. But yeah, right now, banking partners are very scared of crypto. It's getting a bit better, but like even before, like I think we've burned like through 15 banks total in that company. Just like, they don't like crypto. Like they're very scared of crypto. They don't understand it. They don't want to deal with it.
And so what country is the more friendly now? For the bank, I mean.
Honestly, what we do now is just have a lot of different ones. So when one flakes out, we don't have too many issues. In general, like all the like Estonia is pretty good at like financial stuff. That's a bit less iffy. But then it's like, yeah, we have in the US, but they're very scared of what we do, so they don't want to do too much. We're originally from Sweden. We have a bank in Sweden, but they're also like kind of, they don't want to talk to us, and we don't talk to them because we're afraid they will look at us and be like, oh, no, 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 we can't do that. So that's our relationship with banks. It's complicated. Our finance team is insane. Like, for real. All right, yeah.
Have you ever lost any significant amount of Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Mistake in production?
Yeah, that happened a few times. We had a few funny incidents with the refund system, mostly, because that's the scariest bit. We had an issue where some of our test products showed up in production. So you can buy them for free because it's a test product, it's just for us to test the flow, but you're not supposed to have access to them. And so people managed to claim a few refunds. We got most of the money back because it was like a random kid from the US that basically got lucky. And so we sent him a message. We were like, hey, you stole our money, not cool. Also, turns out one of the person you referred is KYC, so we kind of know your friend. Send the money back. We got the money back. But yeah, it is a reality of crypto business. Those transactions are irreversible. So if you make a mistake, it can be costly quickly. So that's why a lot of our infrastructure is based on like refunds wallet never have too much money. So worst case scenario, if things break down, we don't lose more than X. And like all of it is based on that. It's like if it goes wrong, what's the worst that can happen? And make sure that worst is never not all of your money, basically.
Yeah. Do you work with a hot wallet, right? You see the transaction like 1,000 different wallets to one special hot wallet who.
Yeah, exactly. That then dispatches to exchanges or
do you use an API or something like that to do that? Because each one has a.
We have our own stack. Basically, we have like what we call our crypto backend, which is just a bunch of code on top of those nodes that does the like logical part of it.
Like exchange.
Yeah, that does. Well, that gets everything to a wallet that then automatically triggers like selling to exchanges when we need it for. Because most of our suppliers, some now accept crypto, which is honestly impressive development. That wasn't the case a couple of years back. So mostly stablecoin, they're getting there. But they will see the light eventually. But yeah, we have some automatic selling to exchanges so that we can then get like euro, dollars back to our suppliers.
Do you have your hot wallets on the cloud or in your data center in Sweden?
Yeah, we don't run things like, so the company is like fully remote. So like we don't really have options to have things physically somewhere. We'd like eventually to get like, the signing box and all that, but suddenly that creates problems of like who can physically go there and fix something if it breaks. So that's something we're considering, but also don't really want to have that in the tiny office we have because suddenly that kind of paints a target on the office. So there is a lot of security related things like that where we're like trying to be cautious about it, but being fully distributed and remote, we can't really have physical things too much because that would create a lot of extra problems. If in a few years we're twice the amount of people, maybe that would be viable. But
sorry, how do you manage this? The same way that banks doesn't like crypto, maybe AWS, Google Cloud doesn't like crypto. How do you manage this proof of credit card?
I mean, we do have banking infrastructure too, like we do have banks and all that, mostly because, yeah, we still need to pay our suppliers in dollars or euros. So we do have, bank credit cards, I have a company card if I need to buy something on behalf of the company, pay for some services. Like, we would love to have access to like paying for cloud services in crypto, but they really don't want. But we would love it. That's a product I'd love to sell.
I meant more in AWS realizes that you're running a Lightning node in their ASIC too. They shut you down because they don't like it.
No, they don't. At least for now, they don't super care. And I think like they don't like us because we're selling their gift card with crypto, and they can't like legally tell us not to do so, but they can tell their suppliers not to do so. But we have a lot of suppliers, and they like us, so it's kind of a cat and mouse game we have with them on that. Maybe they could, like in the future, if it becomes a big enough problem, be like, ask the AWS guy, like, hey, Bitrefill, we know they're running on you, try to find their account and shut them down. Yeah. that hasn't happened yet. Like we haven't heard anything about it, and I think we're not at a scale yet where that would be a problem. But yeah, that's a possibility.
I can run my Lightning node more freely than.
Yeah, no, like I don't think they care. Like they don't like it because it's a common like attack thing where people steal cloud credentials and start spinning the biggest instances with Bitcoin miners or other crypto miners. So they don't like that part, and they're always suspicious when you start spinning a lot of high CPU instances to do that kind of thing. For just running nodes in general, it's not like, I'm not even sure they can really detect it. Yeah, they can check the ports, all that, but it's in general, like, I don't think they care much about crypto infrastructure on AWS at the moment. They don't like miners, but the rest is pretty much fine. Yeah?
Since, I guess you implemented this, how difficult was it to integrate other shitcoins into your service? Like, you have a lot of different, you accept a lot of different coins, so how different is it from running a Bitcoin node as your backend and all this compared to...
Yeah, it depends on the shitcoin. Like the ones that are very Bitcoin based kind of works the same. Like we support Litecoin, and one day for an April Fool we decided to support Dogecoin, and it sticked. So we still support Dogecoin for some reason. I don't know why, don't ask me. But yeah, those that are very most like Bitcoin, they kind of work the same, just lower infrastructure because we don't see the same amount of volume. Ethereum is a bit more complicated because it just eats RAM like crazy. So you need like more beefy instance to run anything on Ethereum. Like the infra for it is a bit more complicated. The other stable coins kind of similar, but I'm less well versed in it because that happened after I was part of the infra of it. But yeah, Ethereum used to be a problem where it was like pretty much every week like, oh, we're run out of memory or disk space for Ethereum because it is very unoptimized compared to Bitcoin. It's like night and day. Yeah.
And my humble trips over IT systems in company that seem very startups, very digital with a lot of developers and stuff, pretty much running everything in-house. But I've never seen anyone running an in-house accounting system. They always buy it off the shelf because that's just accounting.
Yep.
And you do it. But I'm guessing that there's no software on earth that can cover your needs.
Nope.
So you have an in-house accounting system.
Yep, it's hell.
How is that?
It is complicated. It is complicated because you need to account, like, just to give you an idea, like someone in South Africa is buying a product in South Africa, so in rand. They're buying it with Ethereum. We have to pay our suppliers in dollar. Now you have to account for that. And the way money moves in crypto is like you have sweeping. That's not standard in accounting. So you have money in like a bunch of distributed addresses that is now moving to that. And then you have exchanges, and Lightning is just kind of a black box for accounting. Like, you have money on channel. And then the accountant is like, what does that mean? I don't know. And it will get settled on the blockchain. Be happy. There's like a lot of that is in-house because there is no software that handles it at the moment. So that's like we have pretty much one full-time dev on that, and then people that help on the regular just for dealing with accounting because it is complicated.
And is it like you caught something off the shelf and you're patching on top of it, or you had to just pretty much?
No, we don't have any like software made for accounting. It's just a lot of Excel spreadsheets and a lot. Yeah, there's SQL, Excel spreadsheets, and a bunch of code, mostly.
I don't remember when you connect with MetaMask, do you need the email or not?
It's a good question. I don't remember. I think we asked for one, not because we need it, but because the system is kind of expecting an email for every user. So I think we were like, okay, let's put an email so we don't have to rewrite off the code base to just accept users without email. But in theory, I don't think we need it, but I think we ask it for just basically legacy reasons more than we actually need your email.
Because Bitcoin company, they have LNU or LOs, which is very cool because you just scan and you're logged in and you don't give any information. And just one suggestion.
That's something in our ID box also. We want to integrate that someday. It's just prioritize. But yeah, we're.
Are you in Nostr?
I think we're trying to get into it because we have a guy we recently hired, a developer that's like a big part of the Nostr community. So it was like, why aren't we doing more things? And we're like, well, be the change you want to see in the world. So it's going to be taking care of that soon. So we should be a bit more present there soonish.
Coming back to Lightning, is there a minimum amount to use Bitcoin on chain, or is always up to the user if they want to go on chain, if they want to go on Lightning, or like for this X amount, no, you must use Lightning. We will not accept on chain.
Yep, I don't think we enforce any limits ourselves. If you're sending below Dust, your wallet will tell you no, but I don't think we enforce any, like, if you're below that, because at the end of the day, we'd still rather get the money through Bitcoin than Lightning rather than not at all. So, but yeah, I don't think we enforce any actual limits. But that's the thing we're like considering for that and for refunds, because when we have to process refunds, we pay the transaction fees, so that has a cost to us also for usually a sale we didn't make, so that's a full cost to us. So we're considering this kind of thing where it's like, all right, if it's below that amount, we just use the chains that are cheap for us. But yeah, so far nothing is blocked. All right.
All right, then.
Thank you.